This is part 2, episode 190. The race must rise again, we cannot let the elders' sacrifice be in vain. La Di Mo howled. Men Bu nodded beside him. Look at the treasure room. The Godmaster Puri said, the treasure room and the inheritance room. The inheritance room holds techniques that our race has accumulated over countless years for our people, while the treasure room holds all sorts of valuables. As long as they teleport via God Country out of the room, we can get the treasure. The other two nodded. Their eyes were gleaming as they watched the projection. Asterisk, 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 asterisk. Within the treasure room, the aboriginal Chiokai Ka, a pinnacle emperor, had self-destructed. It took a while for the room to gradually regain its peace. Bastard, bastard, bastard. Piercing Tiger howled as he stood in the corner, his eyes were filled with madness. HMPH. Purple Clock was ashen. His gaze was fixed on Gold Kang, who was in the center of the room. Gold Kang retained his cold expression. Luo Feng was like a cocoon pinned against the wall in his wings. He slowly opened his wings and gazed around. Piercing Tiger's energy had dropped to an extreme low. In comparison, Purple Clock didn't seem to have any change, and so did Gold Kang. Piercing Tiger suffered huge losses. His undying body has been damaged over 50%. Luo Feng thought. But Purple Clock isn't even injured. It's normal that Gold Kang wasn't hurt, but Purple Clock. The two enemies. Gold Kang had reached the limit of an emperor. Purple Clock was also an emperor pinnacle. He. Gold Kang laughed coldly. You sure know how to act. He turned to face Purple Clock. His voice was booming. Purple Clock, if it weren't for that aboriginal self-destructing, I wouldn't be able to see your Chi-Chang race's strength. Other than the attack you used earlier when you burnt 3% of your undying energy, whether it was Night Emperor's explosion, or this aboriginal's explosion, they didn't even harm you. That explosion. Gold Kang was undamaged. Luo Feng used the same terrifying defense, and was left undamaged. Gold Kang had already predicted that this human had his own trump cards, hence he wasn't shocked that Luo Feng survived. Piercing Tiger had lost half his undying body. If he was damaged any further, he would fall into a coma. This was within his expectations. Only Purple Clock, he seemed to only be pinnacle emperor level. When Night Emperor self-destructed before, he wailed like he was injured. However, as he hid in the room, the explosion spread over a large area. Even Piercing Tiger had barely survived. Even if Purple Clock was injured, it would be hard to tell just from looking. No one thought of anything special about Purple Clock. This time was different. Chiokai Ka's explosion was within this small treasure room, which was 20 meter wide and 10 meter tall. And it was shut. The defenses of the room made it so that the walls were totally undamaged. This also made it so that his explosion was contained within. Hence, the force of this explosion would have been terrifying. Piercing Tiger was heavily injured. If he was injured anymore, he would fall into a coma. Purple Clock, however, was undamaged. That was weird. Cackle. Purple Clock laughed. His scales contracting on his face, which looked incredibly ugly. His voice was piercing as he said, Gold Kang, there are trillions of races and countless treasures. There are also countless dangerous areas. Would I not have any survival trump cards? When we planned it out earlier, you didn't say anything. Gold Kang looked at him. This is for my survival, there's no need to say anything. He looked down, seemingly giving in. Humph. Gold Kang snorted coldly. After which his gaze landed on the human youth and Piercing Tiger, mocking within. Piercing Tiger wasn't even worth mentioning now. As for the human with powerful defenses, his attack was average, and so he was no threat as well. Let's everybody try and open this chest. He pointed to the chest. Who'll try first? Who would dare attempt to open the chest? Gold Kang, you go first. Purple Clock said. Humph. Gold Kang walked over to the ancient chest bound by 12 chains. He tried to open it with brute force and skill. After trying everything without any result, he kicked it hard, causing the space about to crumble. You all give it a shot. I'll try. Purple Clock walked up to try. When he reached it, he turned to Luo Feng. Human, don't you want to give it a shot? No need. Luo Feng wasn't in a rush. Purple Clock tried a few times, failure. Luo Feng and Piercing Tiger went to try too, still failure. Within the control room. These invaders still want to get our treasure. What dreamers? Men Bu said angrily. The treasure is ours. La Demo mocked. These invaders, they don't know when to give up. Look at the strongest Gold Kang, he's about to go crazy. Even so, it's useless, they still won't get the treasure. The only path they've got left is to teleport via God Country. We'll wait till they leave and we'll go grab the treasure. Puri said. The three aboriginals all watched on, waiting for when the invaders left via their God countries. Asterisk. After a few minutes within the room, the warriors all realized they had no way to open the chest. Maybe I can let the Mosha clansman become a Yang Ji warrior and try. Luo Feng stood in the corner and thought. However, as to whether I can deceive the chest system, I don't have a full guarantee. Whether it works or not, I cannot do it in front of others. What a waste. Gold Kang roared, his voice resounding within the room. The other warriors about mumbled, waste. Ice Blade and Night Emperor did get the wealth of the six guides, and all of their wealth ended up in Gold Kang's hands. It should be worth at least several tens of billions of mixed elements. That was considered a waste. Greed is something all warriors have. Luo Feng couldn't help but sigh, the difference is whether one can control it or not. You three. Gold Kang roared, teleport via your God country out. Luo Feng was shocked. He was trying to make the three of them leave first. Wouldn't that reveal their God country location? Wouldn't Gold Kang be able to follow them after? With his strength, the moment he entered the enemy's God country, whether it was Piercing Tiger or Purple Clock, the God country would probably crumble. We have to leave first. Purple Clock raged, Gold Kang, you are much more powerful than us. Even if you teleport via God country, none of us would dare follow you. Hence, from what I see, we should leave according to our strengths. The strongest should go first and the weakest last. Right? Piercing Tiger roared too. I agree. Luo Feng nodded. They were very clear that they had to work together now. Within the dark treasure room, Gold Kang, who was covered in lightning, roared, anybody who betrays me will die. Even if we don't betray you, we will die too. Purple Clock's eyes gleamed with ferocity. I've already suffered heavy damage, and will take countless years to recover. Gold Kang, don't push it. Piercing Tiger's eyes were filled with madness. How pitiful was he? He didn't even get any treasure, and yet he was so heavily injured. As an emperor, he still had some pride. The long periods of time have made it so that many of them did not fear death, and choosing to self-destruct was a common thing. Luo Feng looked at Gold Kang. It was obvious that an unspoken alliance between the three weaker warriors had formed. Ah? Gold Kang's eyes gleamed with lightning. He looked curiously at the group. What guts? I've already activated my virtual world broadcast. Purple Clock gritted his teeth at Gold Kang. Everything here on out would be recorded. If you dare make a move, even similar camp allies attacking another, no one can protect you. Broadcast. Gold Kang looked mockingly at Purple Clock. This tower jams all signals and can't even be detected. You can only use the basic recording with your own vision. I've long ago warped the light around and noise travels straight into your brain. You have no way to record this. Ah. Purple Clock's expression changed. Ha ha, this tower, even the most expensive scanners are useless before it, and even God energy is useless. Although your virtual world device has some recording ability, but anything recorded and not broadcasted can easily be edited, it cannot serve as evidence at all. What's more, I control the light and sound, ha ha. Gold Kang looked madly at Purple Clock. For you to block that Aboriginal's explosion and go undamaged, Looks like you have some treasures on you. That human had blocked it too. Purple Clock looked over nervously. Luo Feng's expression changed when he heard him. Gold Kang looked curiously at Luo Feng. His strength cannot compare to yours, but his defenses are absurd. He must have some special techniques or something. Relax, you all, I will settle you one by one. Even though I cannot get the treasure in here, combining the wealth from the three of you, it's considered a small compensation. The three of them were all shocked. Gold Kang had revealed his true colors. Don't get too cocky. Piercing Tiger said hoarsely. Shut up. You are so heavily injured that your explosion won't even harm me in the least. Gold Kang mocked. I'm not even interested in your little wealth. I value these two more. He turned to face Luo Feng and Purple Clock. Don't force me. Purple Clock raged, flipping his hand and brandishing a black crystal. A terrifying energy rippled from it. If forced, we will all fall together. Piercing Tiger stood with Luo Feng, while shocked at the black crystal ball which seemed normal, but the energies it emitted weren't ordinary at all. It's a flame god crystal, and an extremely advanced one. Luo Feng thought. It is at least a tier higher than even the one I bought. He had spent 800 million before to buy a high Emperor flame god crystal. But this one was obviously on a different level. According to its characteristics. Naturally there were thunder god crystals and water god crystals. However, in terms of explosive power, the flame god crystal was the cheapest to purchase, as it was the most common. The others had other special qualities, and were useful in other situations. Naturally warriors would still purchase them. Ha ha ha. A booming laughter, Gold Kang's voice resonated within his chest. Purple Clock wielded the flame god crystal. Threatening me? You are threatening me. Gold Kang's voice was like thunder. His huge body was overlooking Purple Clock. Using that flame god crystal to threaten me. Ha ha, this crystal is your most famous trump card. An A812 flame god crystal. I heard that you brought this out to scare off many opponents in the past, allowing you to survive till now. And you dare take it out to threaten me. Purple Clock however spoke softly. A812 flame god crystal is an extremely high-level item. It is akin to 3 times a pinnacle emperor's explosion. Just this one took up all of my wealth back then. A812. Luo Feng thought. The more power the crystal had, the higher the price. A crystal with the power of a high emperor's explosion was worth 800 million. This A812 crystal however, would require at least 12 billion points. Purple Clock probably had to spend even more without any discounts. For such a huge sum, it could make many emperors bankrupt. Many would choose to spend it on strengthening themselves, or buying weapons and so on. Very few would actually purchase a crystal like this. You are right. I've used it to survive many times. Purple Clock's voice was thin as he continued. I believe that this time will be the same. No use, it has little threat to me. Gold Kang said confidently. 3 times pinnacle emperor strength. It definitely cannot kill you, but within this little space, it can definitely destroy 5 to 10% of your undying body. Purple Clock looked at him. You are already injured, anymore, and you would take very long to recover. Gold Kang nodded. Well said. That attack would hit Gold Kang. This would raise the strength of the attack by 10 times. That way, even an emperor limit would fall. Unless this emperor limit had the king armor, or other such heavenly armors, or some incredibly valuable treasures like this ancient clock. Before, when Purple Clock experienced Night Emperor and Chiokai Ka's explosion and came out undamaged, he had the Purple Clock membrane protection. Ever since he acquired the ancient clock, he had killed other superpowers and used large amounts of wealth to strengthen himself, such as buying the incredibly expensive Flame God Crystal. However, he remained low profile, as those that had witnessed his moves were killed. Killing that human and Gold Kang will give me a huge windfall again. Gold Kang even got the other warrior's wealth before, and his own wealth should be huge too. I'll use that to buy 2 more Flame God Crystals. Purple Clock pondered within. And that human, even though he's much weaker, his defense is shocking. He may have some ancient treasure like my ancient clock. Purple Clock anticipated within. Die, go and die, everything is mine. The three aboriginals in the control room watched everything through the scanners, observing everything that happened within the treasure room. Kill each other. The more you kill the better. Go for it. Just die. Pure, La Demo and Men Bu were all very excited, and they watched the projection happily. As survivors of the tragedy, they treated all other races as enemies. Especially those that participated in the outer region wars, they hated them the most. Because their race was almost wiped out due to the four pinnacle races forging the battlefields. Just to forge the battlefields, they had to destroy our race. Their hatred ran deep. However, to the four pinnacle races, it was like a few powerful lions establishing an area to fight. The rabbits that occupied that area first naturally had to be gotten rid of. To the lions, eating the rabbits was like stepping on ants. However, to the rabbits and ants, the lions became huge enemies. Between races, there was no mercy. Die, all of you die. The aboriginals watched with hatred in their eyes. Asterisk, 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 asterisk. The purple clock seemed extremely ancient, filled with a blur of engravings that gave off powerful energy. With a rumble, the explosion erupted within it, and even though the entire force was channeled into one direction, it still formed a huge ripple outwards. Rumble. A formless ripple spread out through the clock. Rumble. It rushed straight back at the skinny purple clock's body. Though it was diffused by over 90%, the force still made his body crumble before reforming. He was however smiling excitedly, and his eyes were filled with anticipation. Gold Kang, human, you will all die and the treasures will be mine. All will be mine. Ahahaha. An enraged howl came from Gold Kang's throat, his eyes were filled with rage. Purple clock. He stared hard. Boom. The ancient clock howled as the terrifying force condensed within it shot out in one direction, straight at Gold Kang. At such close distance, Gold Kang had no way to dodge, he instantly received the terrifying attack. The force which was supposed to explode in all directions concentrated on him instead, as its strength was amplified by 10 times. It originally only had the strength of 3 times a Pinnacle Emperor's explosion. But now it was 10 times more. Rumble. Energy swelled within Gold Kang's body. He had already burnt 3% of his undying body earlier to solve the fight fast. But before he could do anything, he got trapped in the ancient clock. If he burnt more undying energy, at Emperor limit, he could withstand the blast for a while. However, it was useless. He only withstood it for that instant. His initial strength from burning his undying energy could stand up to the blast for that one instant. But in terms of quantity, that 3% of his undying energy was instantly used up. While taking on the attack, he burnt more undying energy trying to withstand the blast, and at that instant, he knew, it's over. I'm dead. My disciples. My teachers. I, Gold Kang, bid you all farewell. I hope in the distant future, that I will be revived and will be able to see you all again. His eyes were filled with hurt, as he howled with rage amidst madness. Purple clock, you want to kill me? You will die too. Explode. He chose to self-destruct at the final moment. Normal attacks like the Flame God Crystal Explosion killing an emperor had destructive effects. These attacks destroyed energy itself. Just like when Gold Kang destroyed 50% of Night Emperor's body, it didn't create too much ripples around. However, if one chose not to withstand the destruction, but rather self-destruct. Just like how Night Emperor's explosion was huge, it was akin to Gold Kang becoming a Flame God Crystal Explosion himself. Rumble. The crystal energy boiled. Rumble. Gold Kang's explosion was even more terrifying. It was like 2 Flame God crystals exploding simultaneously, the power was terrifying. Outside the ancient clock. No. Purple Clock's expression changed. He had been outside the explosion area all this while, with the ancient clock protecting him by controlling the direction of the blast. He naturally felt the powerful blast heading over in his direction. The moment he could not control the direction of the blast anymore. The energy would burst in all directions. His clock membrane could diffuse 90% of the force. But the final force was still enough to completely destroy a pinnacle emperor. This was after all the explosion of an emperor limit, and was akin to another flame god crystal. Bind. Bind it. All in one direction, all in one direction. Facing death, he gave his all to control the ancient clock, trying to control Gold Kang's blast too along with the initial crystal blast, pushing it all downwards. Binding and pushing it all in one direction would make that side suffer greatly. The other areas would receive much less damage. This way, the force actually hitting the clock itself was much weaker. But it was obviously very hard to control so much power, even with the ancient clock. Bind. He burnt his undying energy, while his eyes filled with madness. Burning his undying energy almost like a turbulent flood was pouring out, he madly used the strength he gained from it. His gained enormous strength in his final bid to control the blast from Gold Kang along with the flame god crystal. The two forces united. They were focused in one direction. Downwards. Rumble, the force slammed against the ground of the treasure room. This was within the ancient clock's area. The walls and surfaces of the room were incredibly strong, as it could even withstand the blast of a pinnacle emperor. One had to know that was already the strength of a knight's normal attack. An emperor limit explosion, however, concentrated by the ancient clock, had 10 times the strength. The ground instantly received over 100 times the force. Rumble. The metal surface of the room began to tear apart. The center spot where the chest lay naturally received the attack as well. Even as the ground tore apart, the 12 chains connecting the chest to the ground had incredibly strong defenses, as the 12 chains remained undamaged by the force. Gold Kang turned to Luo Feng. Human, this purple clock seems like trouble. I think I'd rather kill you first. HMPH. Luo Feng remained silent. The atmosphere in the room was tense. All three weaker warriors looked at Gold Kang's presence, which had forced them to take out their trump cards. Should their trump cards prove terrifying enough, Gold Kang would have to withdraw. If they didn't have anything, then he would make his move. This was normal in a fight between warriors. At this level, these beings were ancient with millions of years behind them. Even if they could suppress and kill the enemy, they would first completely overwhelm them. If they came out with everything immediately, forcing the enemy to brandish a terrifying flame god crystal, then both would simply fall. Wouldn't that be silly? It was possible to have 2 casualties. They normally wouldn't risk such exchanges. What a pity, your threat is too low. Gold Kang revealed a bright smile. Then, you all will die first. Move. Purple clock roared. Kill. Piercing tiger instantly burnt his undying body. Give it everything. Luo Feng replied. The 3 weaker warriors immediately understood that Gold Kang's final decision was to kill them all. Even if they died, they wouldn't let him get off easy, even though they couldn't deal with him, almost like 3 ants going against an elephant. Rumble. Vast lightning energy surrounded Gold Kang and spread throughout the room. Kill. He wielded his thunder pike, and had already burnt part of his undying body, making the others tremble from his energy ripples. His burning his undying body, his trying to settle this fight quickly. Killing us with the least cost. Purple clock communicated to the other 2. Don't hold back, use everything. Ah! Piercing tiger let out an enraged howl. He was already heavily injured. It was almost like an ant trying to shake a tree, as he ignited his entire undying body to explode. The explosion filled the entire room. His power only about 20 to 30% that of Chiokai Ka's explosion. Piercing tiger had finally died. Idiot. Gold Kang shook a little, not even caring about his actions. Yang. Purple clock howled, we've got to give it our all. His eyes were filled with madness. However, no matter how much he shouted at Luo Feng wasn't an undying. He had no undying body to burn. How could he go all out? Die. Gold Kang's eyes were condescending and cold. Human, you sure are useless. Purple clock lost the madness in his eyes, leaving only coldness. A purple membrane appeared throughout the surface of his body, as an ancient clock covered with mysterious engravings appeared. Luo Feng didn't even recognize the words. The clock gave off a terrifying pressure. The clock suddenly changed and flew up, swiftly expanding before engulfing the entire room. The room was only that big. Hence, Luo Feng and Gold Kang had no space to dodge, as the entire room was covered with the clock. The purple ancient clock seemed to hold an eternal age within. The powerful energies made Luo Feng tremble. True treasure, this is a true treasure. Back then the treasure that Yang Zhu Emperor had gotten and used from his father, even its power didn't seem as strong as this one. This was definitely a true treasure that knights used. This clock was an ancient treasure with vast power. Within the room, all three warriors were caught within. The entire clock had a diameter of 16 m, covering more than half of the room's surface. Purple Clock Emperor. Gold Kang looked shocked at him. You all know I use fire clocks to attack and the purple clock membrane for protection, but no one knows that my true treasure is this mysterious ancient clock. He mocked within, ordering, Gold Kang, you wanted to kill me, so don't blame me for killing you instead. 2 pinnacle emperors and 1 emperor limit have already fallen to this clock before. You and the human will die today. Human, you sure are useless, you should die too. With you dead, that mysterious defense treasure will be mine. 2 separate voices were heard, each in Luo Feng and Gold Kang's minds. After which, Purple Clock took a step back and walked out through the ancient clock. He had long melded with it, and was able to fuse it into his body and pass through it. When he stepped back, he placed the black flame god crystal worth over 10 billion mixed elements within the clock. Not good. Gold Kang's expression changed. Trouble. Luo Feng saw the crystal, and it was already erupting. Explode. Purple Clock laughed. Simply relying on himself and the clock alone wasn't enough to kill Gold Kang. Even though his treasure was powerful, there was a limit to which it would extend his powers. Even though Luo Feng had the Showu wings, he couldn't possibly kill an emperor limit. Hence Purple Clock had to use the flame god crystal. This crystal had the power of 3 pinnacle emperors' explosion. In theory it could barely damage Gold Kang. However, the situation at hand was different. The entire explosion was contained within the ancient clock, and fine-tuned further by its special qualities into a focused attack. It was completely directed and with Purple Clock's control. Sai La. The force pierced through the ground. The other regions below the room, however, were much weaker. When Night Emperor exploded with only 50% of his undying body, it already reduced the surrounding 60 kilometers area to nothing, but this attack was much stronger. Rumble. One could visibly see the force being pushed downwards. The 12 chains and the chest on the ground were knocked far away. The 4 of the attack destroyed a world ring that unleashed a large amount of items. It created a 6,000 kilometers deep cave downwards before it dispersed, as everything within the area was destroyed. Gold Kang had suffered a tragedy. Luo Feng didn't do too well either. When the flame god crystal was focused on Gold Kang, some of the force hit Luo Feng. This threat wasn't too huge, and he could withstand it. However, when Gold Kang exploded, that was trouble. Even though Purple Clock forced it all down, the straggling ripples about were still plenty powerful. Luo Feng was hit by about 50% of an Emperor Limit's explosion. Dodge. When Gold Kang exploded, Luo Feng instantly knew it was dangerous. He hid his human body right away in the internal world. Unlike using a world ring to retrieve items, Luo Feng's 3 bodies could instantly switch, or enter the internal world. The internal world was used to nurture them with the core within. Even though he hid within, he hid the original core in a world ring within the Showu wings. The Showu wings had long been melded into his body. His muscles were completely melded with it, and the world ring was the same. Naturally, he could put the world ring in. As such, this was the safest way. Rumble, the silver wings hid the world ring and was knocked downwards. At the same time, large amounts of other items outside were forced downwards with it. Actually, that world ring was something Luo Feng specially ordered. Its defenses were incredibly strong. Just the force of the attack alone wouldn't break it. But he didn't dare gamble, hence he placed it within the wings. When the wings hugged the world ring, the chains, the chest and the metal fragments, Gold Kang's world ring was instantly destroyed and it unleashed a large amount of items. The wealth of the other emperors from the past and his own, they were all knocked downwards. All mine. They are all mine. When the ground was completely destroyed, Purple Clock, who had burnt his undying energy to control the blast, shouted. He had already used 26% of his undying body. It was a huge loss. It's worth it. Completely worth it. All the treasures from the emperors and an emperor limits wealth, that human's defensive treasure and the chained chest, everything is mine. Losing my undying body, it's worth it. Even though he was shocked by the ground crumbling, he rushed down straight after the treasure immediately. Part 2 end here.